Ever scribble down an idea for a website, maybe on a napkin or the back of an envelope, and wished you could just, I don't know, beam it onto the internet?
Like some kind of futuristic website telepathy.
Right. Well, believe it or not, that's what we're diving into today.
It's like, whoa, is AI about to become every designer's new best friend?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can AI really take those rough sketches, the ones we all doodle, and spin them into actual working websites? We're going to find out.
This is exciting stuff, and there's actual research on this. Some folks over at Stanford and Georgia Tech have been digging deep into this whole idea with a project called, get this, Sketch2Code.
Okay, before we get to the nuts and bolts, let's talk about why sketches are such a big deal in the design world.
Sketches, they're like the starting point of everything. It's how designers get those initial ideas out of their heads and into the world.
They're more than just doodles, right?
Way more. They're how designers brainstorm, communicate. It's like their visual language, especially in UI UX design where you're trying to figure out how a website should work and feel.
So how does this Sketch2 code thing even work? I mean, are we talking about AI that's learned to read minds now?
Well, maybe not mind reading, but pretty darn close. Basically, they're teaching AI to look at those lines, boxes, and arrows in a sketch.
You mean like literally understand what those scribbles are supposed to represent?
Yeah. And then translate all of that into the actual code, the HTML, CSS stuff, that tells a web browser how to display everything on a web page.
So it's like having an AI translator that can turn your napkin doodle into the actual code that builds a website.
You got it. And here's the kicker. They didn't train this AI on those picture-perfect website mockups. They used a data set of real hand-drawn sketches, like 731 of them.
Wow, they really went old school with the data collection. But did it work? Was the AI actually able to make sense of these rough sketches?
Okay, so that's where things get really interesting. They tested out a bunch of different AI models. Some were the big names, like GPT-4 and Claude, the ones everyone's talking about.
Yeah, those were the AI all-stars. So what happened? Did they hit a home run?
It's tricky. AI, it turns out, can be pretty good at understanding certain things. But sketches, there's this whole other level of nuance there. Even though they're a universal language for designers, they can be open to interpretation.
So you're saying even AI has trouble understanding the human element of design?
It's like trying to bake a cake, right? If the recipe just says, add some sugar, how much is some? AI needs those specifics.
So the AI might get the basic layout of a website from a sketch, but the details, the little things that make it pop, those are still a challenge.
Yeah, the devil's in the details, right? So to tackle that, the researchers tried something pretty cool. They shifted gears a bit, and instead of just having the AI crank out code from a sketch, they wanted to see if it could learn and improve with a little feedback.
So, like, turning the AI into a design intern, give it some constructive criticism and see what happens.
Exactly. They called this feedback following. Basically, it's like having those back and forth conversations you'd have with a human designer. Hey, can you make the logo a tad bigger? Or maybe try moving that button over there a smidge.
Like those rounds of revisions that happen in real-world design projects.
Yep, that's the idea. And get this, the research actually showed that the AI got better at designing with each round of feedback, just like a human would.
Wow, so it's not just spitting out code, it's actually learning and adapting its design sense.
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing. But what about those nitty-gritty details? Did the AI ever get to a point where it could nail those on its own?
That's where things got even more interesting. The researchers wanted to see if they could make the AI more proactive.
Proactive how?
They wanted to see if it could, recognize when a sketch was unclear and ask for clarification.
Wait, so the AI would ask questions about the sketch, like,
Uh-huh.
hey, what did you mean by this squiggly line here?
Something like that. The goal was to make it more of a two-way conversation. Now, it turns out that teaching AI to ask good questions is really, really hard.
Yeah, asking the right questions is a skill.
Totally. And in this case, the AI models, they weren't exactly winning any awards for their questioning skills. They often asked questions that were, well, a bit nonsensical or redundant, like asking about something that was already super obvious in the sketch.
So not quite the Sherlock Holmes of design assistants just yet.
Not quite. But here's the thing. Even though the AI wasn't great at asking questions, the designers in the study still loved the idea of a question-asking AI design partner.
Really? Even with the awkward questions?
Yeah. It seems like just the fact that the AI was trying to understand their vision and clarify things, it sparked new ideas for the designers. They started thinking about their designs in ways they hadn't before.
That's so cool. So the AI wasn't just a tool, it was like a thought partner, pushing them to consider different perspectives. That's fascinating. We've been talking a lot about how the AI did, but what about the human designers? What was their take on all of this? Were they impressed? Terrified? So did these designers think Sketch2Code was the future of design, or were they ready to hit the undo button on the whole thing?
Well, the researchers actually asked them. They got a group of 8 professional UI/UX designers, the folks who do this day in and day out, and picked their brains.
And what was the verdict? Did Sketch2Code get a thumbs up from the pros?
They were actually pretty excited about it. Across the board, they saw the potential for Sketch2Code to become a real game changer in their workflow.
It makes sense. Imagine being able to whip up a prototype right there on the spot with a client just from a few sketches.
Exactly. But it goes beyond just speed. They loved the idea of having an AI handle those tedious tasks, like coding the basic layout, all that stuff that can eat up hours of their time.
So freeing them up to focus on the more creative aspects of design.
Exactly. Things like user experience, the overall flow, and those little details that make a website really stand out. That's where the human touch is still irreplaceable.
Absolutely. But even with all the excitement, I'm guessing they had some thoughts on how to make Sketch2Code even better.
Oh, definitely. One thing they kept coming back to was the need for more intuitive ways to interact with the AI. Right now, it's a lot of typing in feedback and questions, which can feel a bit clunky.
Yeah, design is such a visual and hands-on process. I can see how just using text would feel limiting.
Right. They were picturing being able to click and drag elements in the AI-generated design like you can with those fancy design programs.
Yeah, more like actually designing on the screen instead of just describing it with words.
Exactly. And they also thought it would be awesome to use things like visual mood boards to communicate their style preferences to the AI.
So less typing, more showing. It makes sense. This has been seriously eye-opening. We've talked about how the AI works, how it learns, what designers think. But let's zoom out for a second. What are the bigger implications of this whole Sketch2Code thing?
I mean, the potential is huge, right? We could be looking at a future where anyone can build a website just from their sketches, even if they don't know the first thing about coding.
It's like democratizing design. Small business owners, artists, anyone could bring their vision to life online without having to hire a fancy design team.
Exactly. And that could lead to an explosion of creativity. This research is giving us a peek into a future where AI isn't just a tool, but a collaborative design partner, helping us unlock creative possibilities we might never have imagined.
I'm excited. I'm a little bit terrified. I don't know. It's definitely something to think about. This deep dive into Sketch2Code has definitely given us all a lot to chew on. So for everyone listening, it's time to dust off those sketchbooks. If you could design anything with an AI by your side, what would it be? Maybe the future of design really is just a doodle away. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.